Welcome back to another episode of Talking Ball Steveospeak. We're going to be drafting a Husky and probably some more drafts after that today, talking training camp and preseason reactions and news. Just talk about, we only have a couple more weeks to go. I think Scott Hansen said, 4 weeks until we're there. So it is the end of the grind for best ball season, but it's definitely getting excited. So before we get into anything, let me bring up chat. We get, of course, Mike Robin here saying, Steve, is it true that for Meg's birthday you gave her a 100,000-word dissertation on why Tyler Lockett's ADP is wrong and you should scoop him up in each draft? I appreciate you recognizing that's the case. And I think I stuck to just about 10,000 words this time. I didn't want to get too wordy. But that is one of the things we can talk about, the preseason usage for the Titans. Yes, it is. I mentioned it a couple of days ago, but today is Meg's birthday. So I want to wish her a happy birthday, of course, and for being such a great sister. We will get into drafts in a second. Just want to take a quick look at where we are at in the Underdog streets. The Husky, which is the first thing we'll do today. I have 5 more to go. It is just under 60% filled. Probably will fill sometime early next week. It's definitely going a little slower than the last one. Probably as people are, Great Dane came out, and that is almost filled. That came out, Thursday? Or was it Friday? Is 83% filled. And yes, it is only 528 entries, but this one is filling quick. So with the 4-12 advance, 2 of 8, 1 of 4, a 25% advance rate across the board to 11 seed final, I can see the appeal. I've not done one yet. Probably am not going to do one. If it had been open longer, maybe. The Puppy 3 is out, came out at the same time. That is just like any other puppy. It is almost 21% filled. Of course, 100K up top. If you can survive the 2 of 12, 1 of 10, 1 of 10. The 375 person final. We have Badge Rose. That is finishing up. It's at almost a little under 94%. So far I've done 50 entries, and that's where I wanted to be at. I might do a couple more. As I've talked about before, I think it's a very strong contest. I enjoy it a lot. I only did a couple last year, but this year I really looked into it and want to, wanted to do more and more. So, and then finally the MMG Best Ball League, $5 entry, 50 max. I have 7 more to go. That's at 71% filled. So things are filling up. They're releasing a lot. And of course, you still have the flagships, all but the weekly winners, which did fill this week. So we are going to hit up chat, and then we'll get into Husky. We've got Losmo saying good morning. Hope you're doing well, Losmo. Have you stopped entering slows yet? No, I have not. I will definitely enter longer. I'm going to try not to do as many slows because I want to start to cut down on how many drafts I have going slow. Let's just say I counted the number last night, and it is an alarming amount. My sister checking in saying, thank you, brother. And Mike, I'm your Huckleberry saying, grabbing lunch that I'm drafting. Meg takes some birthday shots and joking Steve on the stream. All right. Okay, let's get into the Husky 2. I'm going to count it down and enter this. I'm going to enter in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, enter. All right, no location here, still 2 spots, but hopefully this will fill up fast. Thank you. Yeah, good seeing you in here. Appreciate it. I had 130 slows at one point. Yeah, let's just say I've been over that number uh, lately, and definitely am still well over that number. So need some things to filter through. That's for sure. So we are filled. Doesn't look like anyone that I recognize jumped in here. If you are in here, please let me know. Love to say hi. We'll of course look at the team afterwards. I'm in the 12th spot. For those who, the Underdog has the new UI, and they did add the pick number back on in the top corner here, so that's nice as well. Yes, I'm gonna hang out with Meg later. Have a nice birthday bourbon. So looking forward to it. yeah. Let's just say it's a lot. But hopefully, I do recommend for those who are doing slows, the time, in a couple weeks is going to go down to 4 hours. 4 hours, I think, still manageable. You really want to get most things done before it gets down to 1 hour. That's when it can get pretty crazy. I'm sure still have plenty going then, but I want to get to a much more manageable number by that point. So let's see, this draft is starting pretty much as normal. Gibbs moved up to the 3rd spot. We the final couple preseason games of the week today. So, we had 3 games Thursday, 3 games Friday. I think, was it 8 yesterday? So yeah, a lot of preseason action. Some things, I think we can clearly start to see as signal, some probably just noise. I wrote about the first 2 days of preseason yesterday, and we'll cover all of yesterday's games and today's games on tomorrow. So yeah, I already started finding some tidbits that I think we can start to just be more cognizant of. So what a week of preseason is most important to you, and are there any weeks outside that you throw out? So, the final week of preseason, almost no starter or significant contributor is going to play. But honestly, years ago, it used to have a much better signal. Like, week 1, maybe you get a first quarter, but then weeks 2 and 3 are the ones, and that's when there are 4 weeks. But now it's really by team. Let me make my picks. I will go Puka. And, I think I want a running back here. I'm going to pull up Henry. For this combo. But, I think it goes by team. And I haven't seen anything for sure. But for instance, like the Bengals, their starters, they had all their starters out there, except Gesicki, who was, dealing with a hamstring, I believe. They played 2 series, looked great. Burrow was 7 of 9 or 7 of 8, 9 of 10, whatever it was, 2 touchdowns. But they're probably not going to see another snap in preseason. Then you had other situations. You have a team like the Rams who they don't play starters. They don't typically play a lot of contributing backups. So, it's really tough to take any sort of read from what they're doing. And then, I saw, the Broncos, they played some starters last night. And I think there are some things we can maybe take out of it. But I did see Pro Football Focus noted that last year, both Tim Patrick and Samaje Perine played a fair amount in the first preseason game and with the starting unit. And then, of course, both were cut by the end of camp. So, each team's different. Each situation's different. I think these first 2, this week and next week, are the most important. But there will be some teams, I don't expect the Rams to, not just Stafford, but any of the clear starters to play at all in any of these weeks of preseason. Like I'm a Washington fan. They didn't play any of their starters the other night against the Patriots. They're probably going to play them like a series or two next week. And I think maybe they play the Bengals next week. But, again, it's a team by team thing. So, some of it is, and that's the other important thing is to always add context to it. For instance, the Giants yesterday, Wan'Dale Robinson played a lot, and played both inside and outside. But a lot of that also had to do with no Neighbors, no Slayton, no Jalen Hyatt. I think Wan'Dale's the clear slot receiver, but I don't think he's going to be taking away outside snaps at the X or Z from, Slayton and Neighbors. It's just more of a function. Like they wanted Wilson to be thrown to like a guy who's actually going to be on the field come the season. We got Kelly in here saying hi. Happy Sunday. Hope you're doing well, Kelly. Hope drafts are going well. We got Hartman in here saying GM. Same. Hope you're having a good day as well. But no, I mean, I think there was, and also there were some things like, for instance, the Giants. Might as well start there. I think Russ is the clear starter. The Giants say that every time. Dart came in next, and he did some nice things, played well, but I don't think the Giants are viewing Dart as pushing for the starting job anytime soon. And then, of course, Winston kind of played later. So, does this mean, I wouldn't be, if the Giants end up keeping all three quarterbacks, maybe they get a chance to trade Winston. But if they keep all three quarterbacks, my guess is Winston will be one who's active on game days and truly backing up Wilson. But Dart is going to be, the future. But I think from what we saw, Dart is not going to press Wilson anytime early in the season. So coming up on 2 picks. And we'll see what we get here. So Adams goes, I will take the falling Marvin Harrison. That seems very nice. And I'll take George Kittle as well. I like the optionality taking Kittle gives me, going only 2 tight ends. That feels good. Good morning, Steve. I don't see Dante Miller, who had 7 catches even on Underdog. I suppose they add players if they make the roster. Yeah, I mean, they're clearly he's not going to be part of best ball. Now, if some reason he makes the roster, then he could be in like resurrection. But yeah, I mean, if he makes the roster, he'll be involved, potentially out there for, like battle royales and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the thing. Like Miller, he did the same thing last year. He's a good dynamic pass catching back, but he's buried on this Giants team. Yesterday, Tracy and Singletary were with the ones. Singletary played a little with Dart as well. But of course, also Cam Scadaboo's not there. He was another injured player with Neighbors and Slayton and Hyatt. So I don't know if Miller will make the team, but I do think he's doing a good showing for if another team wants to pick up and look for a back, because he catches the ball really nicely and he had some nice yards after the catch and 1 or 2 nice runs from what I saw. So yeah, even if it's not for the Giants, like somebody else picks him up and he makes that squad, Underdog will, I'm sure, add him at that point. But no, we're in full preseason mode. The takes out there can sometimes be feels like overblown, and that's why I'm trying to add some context to what we're seeing and what we need to understand. And there are some things that are, for instance, like the Jaguars. We've been getting in the last 2 weeks. Tank Bigsby is the guy with the ones, and then it was ETN who was out there. Now that's a game I need to go back and watch. I was out doing a fantasy draft last night with friends, so it's kind of on in the background and caught up like some of the usage, but I haven't watched it myself yet. But from what I've seen, Etienne was out there with the ones, Bigsby with the twos, and then Tootin late in the game. And Tootin had a nice run late in the game for a touchdown, but probably not pushing for a major role early based on that kind of usage. Your Huckleberry, do you do any managed leagues? Yes. So I do 2 with friends. One is the one I did last night was an auction draft. And that's just a regular. And then I do a dynasty league also. And then I'm going to be PPR Tyler. He created a league that has a bunch of streamers and some names in the best ball community. Hartman, who's already in this chat, being one of them, but guys like Best Ball Guy, Candyman, and Bindles are sharing a team together. Who Hames, Chad Candles, Willie Knows Ball, Aaron Sandy, bunch of people. So that draft is actually tonight, and that'll be a Dynasty Superflex tight end premium. So looking forward to that one. We'll be doing that tonight. I know he's streaming it. Not sure if I'll be jumping on or anything like that. Don't know the process. He won't ever be out if he continues to do well. Injury makes him start, etc. Yeah, unfortunately, no. I'm pretty sure like once they release the BBM things, those are set. They're not going to add anyone after, because then some people would be in an unfair advantage, as far as I understand it. So let's see what Sean does, and then I will make my 2 picks here, and then we'll get back to chat. I will go Connor, and I'm going to go Rome Odunze. I'm just a nice believer in him. Opens up another stack option in a few rounds. So yeah, no, as far as I know, now I do know with the big board, they didn't have Travis Hunter, I believe, the first day, and then they quickly put him out within like 2 hours. And I'm not even sure if they refunded any drafts that were done. It was something like that. But yeah, they are particularly not this late. Maybe if it had been within the first week, they'd forgotten some player. But yeah, no, I think they are going to keep those rosters pretty well set. Or their player pool pretty well set. So as for some other preseason news and notes, definitely, fortunately, we do see some of the injury stuff. The other day, of course, was Anthony Richardson. And then yesterday, both Rashard White with a groin injury and Taj Spears with a high ankle sprain, but definitely a little scarier from the initial reports. So those are both a little concerning. Spears probably even more so, though groin injuries can be something that linger as well. But I think for something like Eliminator, I would absolutely be kind of out on both of them right now. For other formats, I'd probably just buy the fall. But in White more so, just because he was already going lower, and part of a better offense. So, well, thank you. We got Reflect the Sun saying thank you for the super chat. Always appreciate that, and again, love talking ball. But thank you so much for the support. Please don't forget to like this episode. I'm sure everyone in here is already subscribed, but if you're not, please subscribe. We appreciate that. We're on the road to 1,000 subs. We're hoping to get there. Probably not before the start of the season, but early in the season. So all your support is greatly appreciated. So yeah, those were the big injuries in preseason games, we did get some clarification of like Jane Reed in a walking boot, I believe I saw. And LaFleur said we hope he's ready by week 1 or something like that. So that's not great for him. Speaking of the Packers, it was a limited run, and Jordan Love didn't look great from the clips that I saw, but Golden looked good. I saw a couple of his routes highlighted. Again, that's another game when you go back and watch. But I like what I see in Golden and Romeo Dubs. Granted, no Jane Reed, were the guys out there on every snap. So I think that's positive for both of them. We got Putt Daddy in here saying, "What up? Hope you're doing well, Putt Daddy. I know we're in a couple slows together. So I hope those are going well for you as well." All right, coming up in a few spots. I'm 0-2-3-1 in this Husky draft. And we will see what comes back to me. Not going to take Mixon here. Though, interesting thing there is Woody Marks was, I believe, with the 14 unit. So those expectations that he's going to take on a bigger role, I think, should be somewhat tempered. So definitely start with Downs. I think I would just pull up Kyler Murray. Don't think he's coming back to me. So I'll pull him up. There's nobody else that Godwin, I think, is a good click there, but I have plenty of Godwin. I'll take Kyler to lead this quarterback room. Just drafting Golden as you spoke. Want to get a few more shares. Yeah, no, me too. I mean, I was definitely more over Golden over Reed as it was, but I like seeing, just him adapting early as a first-round rookie. That's positive. We got our guy Tyler Emo Cowboy in here saying, "How's it going? Lots of interesting stuff." Yeah, no, the preseason and camp stuff, it's been a lot of fun storylines. So a lot of things we can start to react to. Again, as I mentioned before, context is key. Don't want to necessarily get over our skis on anything, but there were some things, like, for instance, Brashard Smith was kind of treated like a 7th-round rookie. He was in late. Now I think that Chiefs backfield is still a mess. So, we'll see. And his skill set is different enough that maybe he can earn a slice of the pie. But that's something I'm probably going to be lowering him. Going to, maybe only take him a couple more times going forward. I have a decent percentage so far. I still think he can earn that role, just given his skill set versus the other backs there. But yeah, right now it seems like they're truly going to make him earn that role. Who's the best groin expert in the industry? How do you feel about the white industry? Yeah, well, if Emo's here, I'll let him answer that. For me, and it's a little unfortunate because I do think White was undervalued as it was. We'll open the door to some more Sean Tucker, but I expect when White is healthy, he will get back to the starting role. But yeah, the severity of it can be very important there. All right, coming up in 13 picks, so we've got a little bit of time here. We got Disbanded in here with the dot. Hope you're doing well, Disbanded. Hope you're having a good weekend. And yeah, let's see here. So 108, 109. Very much appreciate having those pick numbers back. A few ways we can go. But let's see some other preseason news, notes, tidbits. like I said, some of yesterday's games I need to focus more in on. One thing I did see before I met up with friends was the Vikings. Justin Jefferson, of course, not playing as he's nursing his own injury. Jordan Addison looked really good with McCarthy. Helped catch, a bit of a one errant pass that I saw. And Jalen Naylor was out there with starters, but it was Jackson ahead of Felton. So I think that maybe Felton earns that by the end of the year. But I will say right now he's probably the fifth receiver on the team. So I personally haven't been drafting Felton, but I definitely won't even be considering drafting Felton as things stand now. Even with the early suspension, he's probably not going to see a lot of field time. So after these picks, I did want to talk a minute about the Titans situation, receiver situation. Just going back to Mike's comment earlier. So 108, 109. I'm going to take Shaheed and Caleb and passing on Scatterboo here, but I think Henry Connor can be my anchors. I feel like there will be other running back options for me. So with the Titans receiver situation, well, first, Chig Okonkwo, unlike last year where he was like splitting time with basically any tight end they could throw out there, he seemed to have the whole role, and that's been following the camp reports also. So they seem to have greater trust in Chig, which is very positive for him, and where he's going in like 17th, 18th round, 16th, 17th, 18th round, I should say. He kind of has a bit of wider range. But receiver-wise, they lined up Van Jefferson kind of at the X, Lockett in the slot, and Ridley, where he's historically kind of been more of a Z. That, and then even when they brought in guys like Io Manor and DK, Io Manor was in on one play just solely to block. They had, I think, 3 tight ends on the field with him. And then another, DK, I think he mainly was in the slot from what I saw, both replacing, filling in once or twice for Lockett. And then when he played more later, you go back and watch that a bit more. But Io Manor was, even though he profiles as more of an X, he played more the Z. So that was interesting from what I saw. Now, some of that is they could just want to get those rookies some usage at certain roles in some live game action versus, practice and the few scrimmages that they have. But it also just kind of shows that they're probably going to go with Van Jefferson as a starting receiver. I'm not really taking him, but Lockett in the slot, I still think he'd have a pretty good role in that offense. The Bengals, where Callahan comes from. Of course, Tyler Boyd had a number of really good fantasy years from the slot, so he could still pay off. I'm wondering if the X just becomes a sacrificial X kind of position for them. But it bears watching a little bit, because I do think Cam Ward has some positive to the game. I think we'll see more fantasy production from the Titans offense. And, obviously Pollard with Spears going down is going to probably get even more early season action. I think Chig is in a good situation right now. And Ridley and Lockett is kind of how I'm going to play through the Titans as it stands right now. We got FK Coolers. Hope you're doing well. He's saying the Roshan versus Monangai RB2 battle is heating up. I caught a little bit of the game so far. I did see Monangai had some nice runs, and it's what I expected. He's not the most the fastest, most dynamic guy, but he's tough to bring down. And yeah, I think not loving this. I will bring up Samson for 1. And then I think I might just take my second tight end, take Dallas Goedert. So Kittle, Goddard, tight end room, be done at 2. And, not there. I mean, I'm at 2, 3, 5, 2 right now. There are a few receivers I would consider bringing up, but I didn't feel it was a must-have or necessary right now. So back to Roshan Monangai. Yeah, and I heard Stacey Dale say that she believes, or she reported that Monangai could be considered the de facto 2 right now. We'll see if that holds. Because I know this past week in camp, Roshan had been getting a little bit more work with the ones. But yeah, no, Monangai is a fun little runner. Like to me, he actually reminds me kind of like the Cam Scadaboo, Damian Martinez, like tough physical runner, not easy to bring down. He doesn't have the passing ability, the receiving ability of, like, say, a Scadaboo, so he's not as complete of a back. But I always thought he was a fun 7th-round pick for them. So I've been taking him slightly, but I'll probably add him in a little bit more now. Still want to have some Roshan and a little Swift. Bears backfield is tough to feel good about, but it's probably going to have a couple usable players. We got Paulino in here saying, hello, Mr. Steve. Any favorite late rounders post preseason week 1? Yeah, so I mean, a couple. We'll get to them as we get more into the late round, but just a couple ones I'll highlight. I definitely want to start getting more Rico Dowdle, Jerome Ford. Sampson played very sparingly. Ford totally sat with the that unit. Taj Brooks. Yes, Samaj P. Ryan got some of the third down work, but I think he right now is in a better position than Brashard Smith. Jarquez Hunter, Quorum had more, obviously the 2 touchdowns. I still think Hunter is going to be the more unique player. Justice Hill sat versus Mitchell, who had really nice runs. So I like where he's fallen. Monangai, as I just mentioned, is somebody I think I'll be targeting a little bit more down the stretch of drafting. We'll get to receiver after I make these picks, and tight end as well. So up into I will take Tyler Algier for 1, and don't have a great other stack built out. I guess I could do Stafford. Feels early for him. I'm going to do Dante Thornton. He was out there with the ones. I feel like he gives me spike week upside. He's my 3rd week 8 bye, which isn't great. Not sure. I'm going to only do 2 tight ends, so I might add an extra receiver, maybe an extra running back. That's kind of a dead receiver zone, and I have very little Thornton. I know I don't have him in any of the more like higher dollar stuff. As for some other late round guys, just to finish up with that thread. Let's see. Torrey Horton, MVS was rested, so that is notable, but Torrey Horton looked good. I think at some point he's going to work his way in. De'Ami Brown was out there in 3 wide receiver sets fully with the Jags, so I think that was a promise. Alec Pierce was rested for the Colts, along with like Downs and Jonathan Taylor. They didn't rest many people in Pittman, so I think that's notable. Thielen was out there as a slot for 3 wide receiver sets. I think Jalen Coker, we haven't talked about that yet. The Xavier Legette, he started, but then he got in a fight and got ejected. So, Coker came in and played well. I want more of him, that's for sure. I don't have a ton. Calvin Austin, I think it was more he's banged up versus truly rested. But him and Roman Wilson are probably fighting for a spot. Isaac Tesla looked, caught a touchdown, wasn't rested like Tim Patrick or Khalif Raymond, but could he earn his way out there? I still think Tyler Lockett, as I mentioned before, this is a guy who seems he's locked in as a slot on that team. Jalen Naylor, number 3, Ray McLeod, he was rested. So I think those are guys. Tucker, he was actually considered the starter. I've taken him in 1 or 2 slows I have going on, so my ownership percentages will be a little higher than that. But he is somebody I want to keep an eye on. Troy Franklin, going back to the Broncos, Pat Bryant was kind of just out there with the number 2s. There's Franklin and Vele playing with Mims and Sutton. So, I don't know if I'll be going the Vele route, but I might sprinkle in a little bit more Troy Franklin, Kayshon Boutte. The Patriots one was intriguing as well because Diggs didn't play. Mac Hollins, Boutte, and Pop Douglas were out there basically every snap with Drake May. But one of those is not going to be playing once Diggs is actually out there. Turpin didn't play, and I don't believe there was an injury, so I guess that was a rest situation. So I might get more of him. Not something in this kind of draft, but just something to keep an eye on, getting some more access to him. We got Reflect Us Unseen. Crazy Saturday, 10-yard split from Naga is the same as Barkley's. Yeah, he has that quick burst, but not long speed. And I don't think he's got pretty good contact balance. I don't think he's got his great feet in terms of like shiftiness, but he's a fun, tough runner. All right, we are up on the clock. So only quarterback option would be Aaron Rodgers. I will take that. I want a third quarterback. I know it's the same buy as Caleb, but I want a third quarterback in a higher dollar league. I will go with Will Shipley. Don't think he comes back to me. I think people saw some of the positivity from his game. Eagles rested all their starters, but Shipley then became the de facto starter. He had a 35-yard run, 36-yard run, a couple other runs. Dillon got mixed in, but I do think Shipley is going to have a role on the Eagles for sure. All right, back to chat. Sorry, I'll bring the board up first. We're finishing this draft, and we'll get into something else after this. I agree, Monanga doesn't seem flashy explosive, but he does a lot of those things well. Yeah, no, and I can see why the coaches could see him in that kind of like David Montgomery role. I think whoever earns number 2 role is standalone value, so I definitely want exposure to both. I agree. That's definitely how I played. Roshan, like it showed, I only have like 1-2% of Monanga. I probably want to get that up to at least 4 to 6%. Running back is becoming more important, it seems. Pollard, in drafts. Yeah, it's weird because there's some teams I think we thought we had some certainty on. We seem to have less, like the Jags, a few others. Even seeing Chase Brown is not getting like full passing game work with P. Ryan getting in there. Should that be a hit? Probably not, but just worth noting. I mean, partly what made Chase Brown so good down the stretch last year. Don't get me wrong, he looked good in the preseason with the starters, but he was getting like a 90% snap share, just absolutely insane. So that was always likely to go down, and it just kind of got confirmed with P. Ryan getting work done. I do think Taj Brooks will get some usage as well. Pollard, Pacheco keeping it in the 6th round more often. No, and I definitely think that's fair. 100% for Pollard, even Pacheco as well. You got Jay Lives in here saying, "Hey, Steve, hope you're doing well." Also, Coker is going to have himself some weeks. I agree. And Paulino, Coke heads alive. Do you draft three quarterback with elites, Josh, Lamar, etc.? So I will say yes to easily answer the question. Overall, about 80% of my teams are 3 quarterback, 75, 80%. And now sometimes when I have elites, I will only stop at 2, but there are plenty of times where I will start with one of those top 4. And honestly, we should probably consider Burrow in that as well, considering his last 2 healthy years. He finished as quarterback 3 and quarterback 4. I will add a 3rd quarterback because even Rodgers now, ideally, it's better when they have 3 different buys. But Rodgers will probably have very usable games. And even if this was Jalen Hurts over Kyler Murray or, Daniels, Rodgers is going to have games where he outscores some of those guys. Right here, we are my last 2 picks. I think I am going to add a running back. Unfortunately, Monangai did just go. I was hoping he'd come back. He did not. I will take Taj. I still believe in that. And I will take a receiver here. And want a little bit more certainty. Yeah, I'll go Ray. I considered Jalen Coker. If this was a smaller draw league, I probably would have gone Coker. But with the $40 league, I want somebody I know who's going to be out there, particularly since I took more of a splash play with Thornton. So I feel like that they balance each other out a bit. So my team ended 3-6-7-2, Kyler, Caleb Rogers, Henry, Connor, Dylan Sampson, Tyler Algier, Will Shipley, Taj Brooks. With only having like 2 clear starters, I mean, Sampson very well could be as well. I decided going 6 running backs, which probably a benefit, though I think I have some really nice contention value on this team. And Puka, Marv, Rome, Josh Downs, even through Shaheed, I really like that receiver group. And of course, the last 2 are, we feel a little less about. I think having the other reason taking a guy like Ray is like week 8, I know I'm missing 3 guys. Week 11, I'm missing 2 of my top 5. So I want a guy who I know can get some points. A guy like Coker, if Legette's on his best behavior week 8, maybe Coker doesn't do anything. The same with week 11, where Ray will probably have a much better floor, even if it's like 7 points. 7 points is better than 0. So I think it just helps in that regard. And then 2 tight ends, Kittle, Goddard, from 2 probably really good offenses. And he's even to bring back to my Chicago week 17 game. So, added benefit there. But that's my team. I think I will. And we got some spam. So let's get that out of here. All right. Cokeheads had themselves a nice day. Best player combo is some strange day. Yeah. Yep. Sean Tucker is purely contingent guy, became even more interesting to me. Yeah, I actually, again, in a different draft, I maybe would have taken sprinkled in a little Sean Tucker just in case the Shard White groin issue. We got BP in here. Yeah, he's in Tyler's draft as well. 4 hours and 20 minutes until war. We got TD, Mr. Musafasa saying, what's going on, Steve? No cap. Jeff Wilson just signed with the 49ers. Well, not entirely shocking considering their entire running back room behind McCaffrey is injured. How's it going? Going well. Going well. Just finished up a Husky draft. I'm going to get into, I think I'm just going to do, maybe I'll do 2 puppies the rest of the way. So let me do a puppy 3. I'm going to count down and jump in this. So anyone who wants to join a puppy 3, I'm going to enter in 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, enter. So this one quickly filled up. Puppy is filling at a pretty good rate. Not sure if anyone got a chance to get in here. I see Legion in here. That's always good to see. That's the only name we recognize. If everyone else is in here, please let me know. And we will get this draft going. I am 6 spots, so I like knowing that I'm going to get one of those top 6 guys. Always great when Steve reads my message and it's halfway through like, damn, should have vetted this. I kind of just know that going in, Mike, but I will read as far as I can. Sit on my end was first and next one. Sorry about that, Mike. Good luck in your draft. Paul, hey Steve, hope your day is going well. Appreciate it, Paul. Hope you're doing well also. And since I think we're the only 2 in this one, hopefully we both advance. So was there, I mean, I'm happy to still talk about preseason stuff as it comes up, but was there does anyone have anything in particular they noticed from preseason or they thought was interesting, even whether they saw it, something on Twitter or whatever? Happy to comment on anything I can. And then the other question, as we are 1 pick away. Yep. How are you guys doing in these remaining drafts? Like, what are you feeling? Are you expecting Underdog to release much more? Anything you're holding out for? Anything you're looking for? I saw PPR Tyler mentioned shouting out, hoping for another Superflex draft. I'm hoping that as well. As I mentioned the other day, Underdog did a Superflex single entry and a Superflex pug last year. So even if it's something like that, that would be fun. Obviously, doesn't add too much more volume, but would just be fun for another contest or 2. So I'll bring up the board. We drafted a 3rd wide receiver in Dallas. So early on, I was taking some Tolbert. I'll still sprinkle him in some. I'll probably start adding Turpin a little bit. I mean, those would be the only 2, obviously. I know Tolbert played, Turpin didn't. I don't know if we can 100% like take that. I didn't see clarification if it was fully an injury situation with Turpin. So yeah, I'm sure they'll get more reported on that. And also it might have just been like, maybe this is the game they'll give Tolbert to play and next game Turpin plays, Now its next game is the Cowboys starters playing. Maybe that's more of the signal then at that point. But my concern with Turpin is he's like a slot only guy, or these unique plays out of the backfield, which actually could be some of his highest value on the team. But he's not going to play outside. And I'm on the clock. I should probably pay attention. We are going to go. No, I don't do much. Let me go Brock Bowers. You know, when Brock starts to fall to this, I mean, I like when he's into the 20s, but since I do it so rarely, I figured why not give it a shot. But my concern is Turpin's not going to be on the outside, right? So, like when they're in, they love running CD Lamb in the slot. And sure, sometimes you can do formations where you have like 2 slot receivers by having guys so close to, you know, the line and stuff like that. How you do your wide receiver splits, you know, we've seen that with particularly in Sean McVay and a few others. But you know, Turpin is just not going to have any sort of functionality out wide. And CeeDee Lamb is at some of his best in the slot. So when they're in 3 wide receiver sets in that situation, you'd think Tolbert is the one who gets more usage. Also, like in the red zone, Tolbert's got size. He had, 7 touchdowns last year, not all in the red zone, but he showed he could be at least somewhat of a reliable weapon in near the end zone. For me, I'm gonna be more considering of that. But I do want to mix in Tolbert some, or I'm sorry, Turpin some. I'd be interested to hear your Braylon Allen thoughts as he is about to get steamed up the board. Yeah, so I need another game I need to watch more of. But I mean, Braylon Allen has been moving up the board, and it sounds like he should be. You know, it's weird we keep saying this because, you know, Ben Johnson's now in Chicago. Detroit still is their situation, but that Monty Roll, and even before that was Jamal Williams, has also visited in Chicago. That Monty Roll has been, and Jamal Williams has been highly, highly productive. It's just the last 2 years. Monty's missed, you know, he missed 2 games, or 2 games 2 years ago, 3 games last year, 3.5 games last year. So, but when on the field, it is very, very healthy. We are very, very strong overall. We'll go Omarion Hampton. I know there's obviously the Rashawn Slater concern, but I want a good chunk of Hampton. And, you know, I mean, the Najee stuff does not sound good at all. I'm sure he'll be back at some point, but it sounds like Hampton is going to get a full workload early on. But, you know, so Braylon Allen, you know, profiles in this Monty role, like big, physical, tough runner. He's got some long speed as well. He can catch the ball decently well, a lot like Monty. And, you know, I could just see it. I could see it being a very, very strong secondary role. Now, my concern with it remains twofold. One, I think the Jets as a whole, their offense is at best middle of the pack. Even liking the Lions offensive system that they're bringing in. The other is Fields will, now sometimes, you know, obviously like Allen, James Cook, Hurts, Saquon, you know, Lamar, Henry. Now Lamar doesn't do a lot of you know, short yardage red zone touchdowns like the other two, but Fields does. You know, you look at you know, with the Bears, you look at Fields last year with the Steelers, and Fields had multiple touchdowns, you know, inside the 5, inside the 10, tons of yards. You know, he started 6 games and had like 300 yards, something like that. So, I am going to, it's going to be a more unique. I'll go George Pickens. Considered Hurts there, but I'll go Pickens. So there's a reason why Najee only had 6 touchdowns last year. You know, Fields definitely stole a couple early in the year. Is he doing that from Braylon Allen as well? That could limit the upside. I mean, partly why that role was so good in Detroit is Jared Goff is not stealing touchdowns. He didn't steal touchdowns from Jamal Williams, didn't steal touchdowns from Montgomery. So that's maybe the limiting factor. But anyways, that's my thought. I like Braylon Allen. I've been starting to take him a lot more of late. I think there's just greater upside there, ways that he can excel even beyond like just splitting that role. But I do think there are the Jets offense as a whole and Fields slightly holding them back. Ferguson is probably the third receiver in Dallas. I do agree with that. Turbin seems like Ray or Calvin Austin, smaller gadget guys. Yeah, to an extent. I think maybe even a little bit more so because while Turbin has great speed, I don't think he's ever going to be a vertical guy. Like Calvin Austin has some vertical ability. Even Ray has some vertical ability. Still 0% Fields. Yeah, I mean, I started taking Fields a lot less, but I'm going to be at 10% Fields probably. And I do think the Jets more likely than not are bottom third offense. Like I said, best case scenario is probably top half. I was really hoping for one of these receivers here. So I will take Travis Hunter. He was out there with starting offense. We'll figure out what he does defensively long term, but I think any concerns that Hunter is only going to be on defense are getting more and more greatly exaggerated. I'm personally not looking for any new contests. I've been ahead of the pace all draft season, so 25 limbs, 25 BBMs due before maxing both. Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely lowering what I did on a limb, or what I intended to do on a limb with some of these contests. I'm not going to max BBM, but I'm going to be like 70-ish, 75-ish, somewhere in that ballpark. And, I'm putting in more in marathon and sprint. Hopefully we get a few more promos for those. But even not like overlay or no overlay, they are, I think, really good ROI contests. And then actually if they do overlay, those contests, you can argue, benefit you the most out of any contest to overlay because, of course, with the marathon, if we start lowering the field, then you just, instead of, 75,000 entries, instead of having the best entry, 75,000, if it's 60,000 entries, 65,000, whatever it is, that you're increasing your odds of getting a top 10 entry. And same with the sprint. You're getting more bullets into a tournament style for that final week. And then it's not about pod luck. Because anything else, let's say BBM overlaid, I don't think they will. You might get a few more bullets into the playoffs, but it's still, pod luck is still going to come into play. All right, we are on the clock. I'm going to go Ricky here. So, the 49ers situation, they didn't play their starters or anything, but I think Ricky is the guy. That's the way I'm playing it, and I fully believe it. BP saying feels great about the 0% Fields. We got Kramer in here, GM. Hope you're doing well, Kramer. FK saying that's how I see it as well, Steve. Jets O-line about league average, overall offense bottom third. I think the Jets offensive line could be maybe in top 10 because they have some young guys who could really step up. But so I think that's honestly one of the greatest strengths with that team is their offensive line feels very good, or has the potential to be very good. But yeah, as a whole, I mean, we're talking about like one clear receiver, a rookie tight end who's even banged up, two, some talent at running back, but a quarterback who's just been, much better fantasy than real life. But I did like Allen entering the draft, and he's a hard runner. Yeah, that's how I feel also. I was very high on him entering the draft and just feel like it's a good situation. I was going to wait on a Great Dane, but it's filling super fast. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to get any in there. And just because it is, I wouldn't be surprised if, I wouldn't be surprised if there is another like higher dollar contest. Maybe not another Husky, but maybe a Chow Chow, maybe a Dalmatian. And Diggs comes back to me. Rarely have been getting this combo of getting both Pearsall and Diggs of late. So I will happily take both here. So I really caught up at receiver after skipping it the first 3 rounds. So I feel now pretty strong about the receiver room. Kramer asking, do you move Dowdle up after the game the other day? I'm going to be releasing new rankings tomorrow, after all these preseason games. But yes, I will be moving Dowdle up. He's somebody that I did not have a high percentage of. I kind of put him in the same category, like a below behind like the Austin Ecklers, but now seems like he's going to have a bigger role and probably has greater contingent value than some guys. But no, so I want more. I want more Rico Dowdle. Paulino, what did you think of the Jets' backfield? Brees, Braylon. I was just talking about Braylon. I'm lower in Brees, just kind of for some of what I mentioned before about Fields and the offense in general. I feel like we're paying a very high price. Fields is never like super involved as running backs in the passing game as well. And, could Brees be the Gibbs version? Of course. But I think I would rather a much higher Braylon percentage. I will take Jalen Warren. I'm still much higher on Roshan Johnson, but I think, I want a little Warren. He did get rested with the starters, and I think he will have a role, primarily through the passing game, but he'll get some decent running role. One of my biggest concerns with Warren is he just doesn't have big touchdown upside through 3 years. He's got 5, 6 total touchdowns. Not exactly great. But that said, I don't want 0 of them. So this feels like a good lineup to take a shot at them. Already have 2 more established backs. With the elite tight end, I might go 6 backs. So probably a good lineup to take a Warren shot. But yeah, I have a much bigger percent. I've got about 20% Roshan. And no, just as we're talking, like these backfields, things are heating up in some of them. The interesting thing, the Patriots backfield the other night, like obviously Travion Henderson is what an electric talent. The kickoff return, it's amazing. Still got a good bit of work with Drake May, but so did Stevenson. And I think people should keep that in mind. And Stevenson had some nice runs. So, I want to start gaining a little bit more Stevenson as well. I want Travion, but I'm not going to, I don't think Stevenson goes to the shadow realm. Another interesting running back situation, of course, RJ Harvey, just 4 days after being listed as RB5 on the depth chart, was the starter in the preseason game. So just some interesting, wild stuff there. I'm going to pull up Dak. Let's get my first quarterback. Did pass on Scatterboo, but I think he's still there, I think. Yeah. So maybe if he comes back, I'll take a shot on him. So yeah, Mixon goes here. I'm still taking Mixon in the 80s, early 90s. I had a draft. I already had 3. I invested highly in 3 running backs, like 3 of the first 6 rounds. and this was a slow draft, but Mixon was there at like 108, 110, somewhere in that ballpark. And I was just like, I have to take Mixon. Like, I wasn't expecting to take another running back for a long time, and I still am going to need a fifth because who knows about Mixon's prognosis. But we could be getting Mixon there. I mean, he was going like 50-ish. So you could be getting him double his early ADP. That to me was a little wild. And this was, I think, the puppy too. So plenty of people were taking Mixon at a much higher ADP. I think Hawkinson is a shot to take a step back towards what he was. Absolutely. I have a good chunk of Hawkinson. And I will still pass on Scatterboo for Drake May with the dig stack. Let's get to two really good quarterbacks for this room. Still could add a third, but I like Dak May combo. But no, Hawkinson, let me just bring up Hawkinson real quick. So, I'm at 8%. And here's the thing, and he got injured at the end of 2023. But this is a guy and traded during this season, the 2022 season. And, keep in mind, this injury year is also Kirk Cousins goes down halfway through. So he's dealing with, Dobbs and Nick Mullins and, everyone else at quarterback. But back-to-back years of 170 points as a tight end, that's extremely good. Last year was just 66. I forget what week he came back, how many, off the top of my head, how many games, but 41 catches is about halfway through the year. So we could kind of double these kind of things. And the big thing here is 0 touchdowns. I don't think he's going to have 0 touchdowns. It could be 4 or it could be 8, that's kind of like what we're looking at. So Legion takes Herbert. Let's see if he gets back to me. If so, definitely have to take him at this point. And he does. So I get a nice Fallen Scatterboo. I will scoop that up. Still think when he comes back from injury, he is going to work his way into the rotation and potentially the total lead role later in the year. So yeah, no, I'm pretty bullish on Hawkinson. And just to go back to the tight end point, let's take a look at somebody like Kittle, who's obviously been doing it for multiple years and he generally misses a game or two. But Hawkinson outproduced him these other 2 years. So, yeah, I absolutely, I love Kittle as you've seen with my earlier draft. I have him at like 13%. Because I think he's a better value than like Bowers and McBride. But you can make the case that Hawkinson could be the better value than Kittle. So, no, I want to end up overweight on Hawkinson. Stevenson might be my highest own, just too low for a starting running back. Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. I think he's a starting back. I think Henderson is definitely a better and best ball type of back because he's got that explosiveness where he'll take that 60-yard catch or 60-yard run and just, stack a game that he has 140 combined yards and 2 touchdowns. Where are we at here? I don't like this range. So I'm going to just take Josh Palmer. Look, Shakir's banged up to start the year. Curtis Samuel's banged up to start the year. Consider Goddard again, but I will take some more shots at Palmer. Top tier offense. I think he's out there. He's out wide. Him and Keon Coleman, probably the primary targets early in the season. When Shakir comes back, he'll get worked in, but I just think Palmer any week, just when you're part of that Bills offense, if you're out there, you're starting any week, you have a chance for a pretty decent spike week, and paying a price of 139, I think, is very fair for that kind of profile. Stevenson's going to click too. There will be, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like Henderson, I think is going to be the guy who was like 320 plus point games this year and a couple other usable games. But Stevenson will probably be the guy, probably have 10 points just about every game, So, and one or two will be in the 20s, but it'll be 14 points, 16 points, 12 points, just consistently giving you usable weeks. So let's see if I can get DeMario back. That was my hope. It's right around ADP, but I didn't feel like pulling him up. It would be my third week 14 buy. Little less than ideal. What else is out there? Nothing. Ford goes. That would have been a running back click. Braylon Allen, though. That might end up. You know what? I think because I didn't love it's in the middle of my running back room. Could have gone either way, but I could probably stop at 5 running backs now. Lead me more to like 8 receivers with this build. Maybe I'll tack on a third quarterback, maybe not. So maybe I add both a running back and receiver. Just kind of see how it plays out. We got Best One Call saying GM Steve. Hope you're doing well. Best One Call. He did a stream yesterday. I jumped in a draft with. We got Sus in here saying GM. Hope you guys are all doing well. Eddie, of course, in here. Sorry I'm late. We started a second business and you're getting stuff going. Oh, good luck to you, Eddie. Hope all is well. Obviously appreciate any support. Don't forget to like the episode. And of course, if you're not subscribed, I expect pretty much everyone to subscribe, but we appreciate the subs. We appreciate the comments in chat. We appreciate the likes and of course comments after the show. That will help the algorithm as well. So all your support is very much appreciated. Coming up in a couple picks, I'm at 2,551. Might, since I didn't double stack with 2 receivers, if Henry's there, Henry Bowers is a nice tight end room. Yeah, we'll go with that. And what I will say, before I make the pick, Rashard White, if he starts falling to the 160s like this, I'll be clicking him. I'm already at 14%, so I don't need to go too crazy on it. But, I still think there's a lot of room for upside there. So now at 2,552. And we will. Stars in here saying 27% Rico. Stand up. Wow, that is impressive. We got that on real-time. RBs are king. Absolutely. Especially with some of these RB injuries that make the healthy ones even better. So yeah, Xavier Leggett, I feel pretty good at mine being at only 1%. I'm sure they'll give him some chances. And if he falls, maybe I'll take him a little bit more, but not probably in this one. I'll let him fall even more. Pat Bryant's one that I'm going to really not be maybe totally out on, but I think he should fall considerably at this point. All right. I'll just take my guy, Adam Thielen. It's right at ADP, but I think he's a better click than Xavier Leggett. So That does no ball, 100%. And we are now sitting at 252. We'll see if a third quarterback materializes or not. And yeah, right now, pretty happy with this build. And the 3-week 14 buys definitely makes me want to add an 8th receiver there. But otherwise, I feel like it's a good team that can compete. So we're coming up on the last 3 rounds. I do have to get out of here shortly, so I will just jump right into another draft. I wanted to get 3 done today. So that'll be my plan, and then we will get on out of here. I need to know why Adam still goes where he goes. What am I missing? I agree. I know, in the, again, 2 drives of the preseason game, he wasn't out there in 2 wide receiver sets. But I actually think he's one of the better. I'm playing it as him being one of the better values. Seems like you might be reading it differently. We will take a third quarterback here. I think Darnold, Stafford fall is nice, but Darnold's a little easier to maybe backstack if something materializes. Not going to force it. Because I don't think Renfrew is honestly much of a threat. In fact, he's been missing camp the last 10 days, 8 days, something like that. I think Thielen is a guy who, he's a third receiver, but I think, if it's him and Leggett, I think he's going to get way more targets than Leggett. Him and Coker, we'll see Coker's flash a little bit, but Thielen has been Bryce Young's guy the last couple of years. I don't think that changes. T-Mac's is going to be the one, but I think Thielen is going to be the guy who moves the chains. He gets, 8 to 10 targets most games, maybe not every game. But even not being in all 2 wide receiver sets, I think there can still be plenty of positive usage for him. So I think we're just adding 2 receivers at this point. Did Thornton go? Wow. He did. We will take Hopkins to start. Uh, 27th leg just got here. I know you got something to say about Shador. Good to see you, Fantasy Dog. Yeah, so Shador, look, credit where credit's due. He played well. And, he got the opportunity because Pickett's hurt, Dylan Gabriel got hurt, and Shador got a long, extended run, and he played well. I think one of the most impressive things was he actually scrambled well. He did not scramble well in college. Not that it's not even about whether he's got the athletic ability of like a running quarterback. Clearly that's not the case, but you still want to functionally scramble well. I mean, look at, some guys that you don't think are great at it are actually better than you think, Justin Herbert, Baker Mayfield. Even we've seen Stroud be a better scrambler than people initially gave him credit for from his college days. So that's a positive thing because it's very hard for you to be a Jared Goff, total statue back there. You have to be so efficient. Seeing him scramble is going to be key because teams are going to throw different blitzes at him. You need to know when to hold it and when to fold it. And so that was definitely positive for him. I still think it's Flacco's job to start the year. But I think Shador is making the case that he should move up to be that number 2 role and to take over at some point this season, whatever that may be. So, I have so much. You know what? I will take a Trey Tucker shot. Oh crap. Yeah, that was my bad. I forgot I had limits done, and I took Brashard Smith. So that's not great because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm kind of out on Smith going forward. I mean, luckily it's 211 in last round. So that's not ideal. Let me get in one more draft. I'll count it down quick. Appreciate everyone for joining. And then we'll get back to chat. Yeah, I need to change that limit. I'd done that for the Badge Bros Brawl because I was multi-tabling the other night and wanted to make sure I didn't get too many receivers in that when you're taking guys so early. All right, so we will enter in 10 seconds, and I'll enter in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Puppy 3, enter. All right. Got my first Scatterboo share. Good seeing you in here. OMG godlike. Redraft. Nice. The Shador. Look, again, credit. And that's what I've said about Shador. Going back to the draft. We see Mike Robin here, Legion's in here, so a little bit more friends and family in this one. See Big Sweezy in a lot of drafts. Not sure if he's in chat or not. But no, it's Shador. He's always going to be a guy who's going to be better in game than, he's not going to be the fastest guy. He's not going to have the biggest arm, but he can be a good decision maker. So he shows that he can earn a spot. Long term, he could be a good starter in this league. Those Hopkins picks will make you happy, Steve, like an investment into Apple in the early 2000s. I mean, I agree. I think Hopkins remains going in like the 17th round, and definitely one of the best clicks down there. Coker to the moon. Yeah, with Leggett truly fighting for a roster spot, we should say. But I'm definitely going to be taking more Coker down the stretch. That would be something to go from two Hall of Famers in the same family. He didn't attempt too much like Penix. It's more about utilizing the ability as opposed to if you can move it all. Yeah, I mean, Penix definitely is much more faster. I mean, he ran a 4.4. And before his myriad of injuries, Penix was a good rushing quarterback. I think if Shador had the wheels, he would have run, maybe not at the combine, but even at a pro day, and that would have gotten leaked out. But just nice showing you have functional speed. Like that can be so key, especially early in a player's career. I autoed Najee last night on a baller team. oh man, I hate that. I mean, let's just hope Najee gets healthy. I think that's the key. Like, I'm sure he wouldn't have minded Najee if Najee was not healthy. Blacker Shador doesn't make either real draftable, but makes Cleveland positions player very draftable. Yeah, I'm playing it more like Flacco is going to at least play through the bye or to the bye. So at least the first half of the season. And I think they probably reevaluate it at that point. I'll go Monroe on this. Took Puka on one earlier. Kind of a little under the weight on both of those. So either would have made sense to an extent. Don't have Shador in BBM, but a lot in Superflex. Yeah, so in Superflex, that makes way more sense because, even if you only start 5 games, like that could be huge for a Superflex team. BBM, it's tough to imagine not having Shador is going to be a big, big factor. We'll double tap receiver in this one. Brian Thomas. I'm most excited for my Judy bags now. I mean, it's preseason, but it gives me some hope. Yeah. Wow. So no, and it will be interesting to see when Pickett and Dylan Gabriel get healthy. Does this change their rotation? Because it started Pickett is the only guy working in with the ones, and Gabriel when Pickett went out. Is going forward, do they give Shador a much longer look with the ones in camp? That'll be interesting to see. And Mike asked earlier about the importance of preseason games. The last preseason game doesn't mean much, but I could see the Browns giving like both Shador and Gabriel that game to really give them the reps, see if one can kind of earn a role. So for them, it can matter a hell of a lot more. All right. So we're coming back in a bit. This will be the last draft I do on stream, but yeah, obviously this is early on, so still plenty of time to talk it through and talk ball and everything else going on. Let me know if anything big is happening in the Bears. The Bears game as that finishes up, and then who's the other game tonight? Chargers and again, I think Chargers and yeah, just remember that's the Chargers playing. Let's go back to chat. Just think of Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah. Well, no, same with the Giants situation. Like Dart looked good. I don't expect him to start early on, but he might start late in the year, and maybe that pans out. Maybe not. So some of these rookies, it's definitely not the rookie class of it was a year ago. I think Cam Ward is probably the only one we're getting all year, and probably the only one to really invest in. Oh, Saints, Chargers, Saints. Yeah, speaking of rookies, that's it. Yeah, Spencer Rattler is starting, but we'll see what Chuck does and how that situation plays out. That's another one we still need to figure out. So coming up in 2 picks, started with 2 receivers. We got a little receiver fall here. Lamar is still there. Brees Hall. Might make this more like a 0 RB type team. We'll take the Marv fall. This is right where I have him at ADP. So 3 week 8s, not ideal. We'll figure it out. Legion taking Jaden there. I'm going to take Worthy because I need to not have only week 8 buys, and I need like starters to fill in. But I couldn't pass up. You're seeing it a little bit more and more in Marv at the back end. But that's why I'm kind of lower on him, because this is, I have him ranked like 35, 36. And he typically goes like 24 through 26. Lately, he has been falling. That's why his ADP is starting to creep down. So I'm going to take advantage of that. That Saints quarterback thing might go south. Winston to the Saints. No, I've speculated that before, and what we saw, like Dart, obviously, and with the second team, Winston is just kind of there to fill in for depth right now. If you're the Saints now, if you're truly tanking for next year, maybe you're not doing it, but you're the Saints and you want to have some semblance of a decent season. Do you just trade for Winston? What's it going to take? 6 rounder? Like, it's not like the Giants are going to ask for a sky high price. I think you have to consider it, unless you really think Rattler or Shuck or both can handle the role, because it's, look, you invested 2 years ago in Kamara, you have Olave, Shaheed, you just signed Juwan Johnson to a big deal. It's also about maximizing that investment as well. Yeah, well, it definitely has not sounded positive to start. Ollie Gordon, did he do something nice in the game? Right now I don't have it on. Holy Drake May pick. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's pretty up there. Hopefully this is not a sign that this draft gets canceled or anything. I don't think that alone would do it. Could have easily just been a queue method issue. Not sure why they'd be queuing him that early, but that's very early. That'll raise his ADP a bit. Oh yeah, I mean, look, Winston's been there before, and they already love him. Who's been your favorite team to stack this year? Looking at mine, it appears to be Green Bay. Was intentional by low prices, so I think, I mean, May is my highest on quarterback, and Diggs, his price is good. Hunter Henry. I've been taking a lot of Kyle Williams, not doing so much right now because it looks like he'll to earn his role a little bit more. I think he looked good in the preseason. It was just more of the second unit. Should have had a touchdown, but Dobbs missed him. I don't think I keep up the 0 RB bit. I think I go Henderson here. Actually, let's go Kamara. Okay, there we go. It did finally go through. Let's see what Paul does here. I will. Actually, no. I'm going to take Debo. I'll pull Debo up. I want more of him. Still a very heavy RB or wide receiver build. We'll have to go 7, but now having like 2 other starters, I don't feel as bad for the week 8 situation. And we're about to get that, when I come back, sometimes there's still viable starting receivers. Sometimes there aren't. Let's get back to chat. I will go to the board. And but as for other stacks, so I didn't finish answering that. I'd say San Francisco, just because there's, whether it's Kittle, whether it's Pearsall, whether it's CMC, little Juwan Jennings. I like that route. I also take a good bit of Bears because of their receivers before them, and then of course Burden kind of right in the same range as Caleb, and Loveland even you can sometimes get after. Those would probably be three of my favorite. Dad saying he believes Rattler has it. We'll see. He's going to have the opportunity today. Who loses their backfield first, Warren or Dobbins? I think Warren, just because I don't think Warren, honestly, I don't think he can have the backfield. Like, I don't think he's a guy who's going to get 20 touches a game. Like, that's just not been his game. It's not just because Najee's been there. It's just, I don't think that's Warren's ability. And also just from a fantasy standpoint, Warren's never been a touchdown guy. Even as passing down back, it's not like he's not Jahmyr Gibbs out there. Like his passing work is much more limited. It's good, it's positive, but it's not like he's like Gibbs or James Cook or one of these types of guys. Respect May, he's an elite tier. Yeah, I think May really could be. Gordon handled most of the drive and scored at the end. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I've taken a little ollie at the end. Don't have a ton of right, so I want to get a little bit more of the Dolphins backfield. So we will go. We're going to go Aaron Jones with this pick. Another veteran back. I think him and Mason are going to split the role, as many expect. But I think offers a little bit more certainty than even Brian Robinson. So coming up this spot, I will take Mahomes. I want to get closer to the field with him. I don't know if I'll be right at 8%, but I want to be in the neighborhood. I am expecting a bit of a bounce back for the Kansas City offense, particularly the passing game. But, it's tough when he goes in the same range as guys like Baker and then Kyler right behind him. I think you can make a stronger case for both of those. May's second most liked quarterback, Ryan Fields. Yeah, I'm really bullish on May for sure. Always want to beat that approved. Yeah, no, agreed. My guess is Warren. Yeah, and here's the thing, like even Gainwell, he played last night, but I think he only had 4 or 5 snaps and then he was done. Gainwell does a lot of the same things Warren does. So they view Gainwell pretty highly, which sounds like they do. And does he eat into some of Warren's work? Not that, Warren is not going to have any value, but, if Warren can squeeze from both sides, like Caleb, the majority of carries, Caleb, the touchdowns and yards, and then Gainwell, a little of the passing work. Gainwell's good as a pass blocker as well. It could kind of put Warren in a tight squeeze into like how much fantasy value you can add. I like the new UD board format. Very nice. Agreed, Fantasy Dog. And I don't know if you saw the first day they released it, they didn't have the numbers in the corner here. So that was a little frustrating because you couldn't figure out where you were in a draft. Like the exact number, like coming up, or like I know I'm going to be 107, 110, but they added that within the day. So that was pretty nice. Arthur Smith can't say no to bigger backs. Well, it's also, I think they fit his system, zone scheme. He likes big physical runners, one-cut guys. I just, it sounds like I'm dogging on Warren and don't think he's a good player. I think he's fine, but I think he's a limited role. I think a lot of people have expected him to become Austin Eckler, who kind of a similar profile, smaller, undersized guy, started as a satellite back, but then took on a massive role. And to me, there's just been no indication. And one of the things is Eckler from the jump was so much better, like as a red zone weapon, as an effective runner in short yard situations, despite his size. Warren has not really shown that to be the case. He's been stuffed at a pretty decent rate. We need more streamers who stream next. Not sure. I think Who Hames is going live at some point today. Let's see. I'm on the clock. I don't do much Kelsey. I will throw on Kelsey at this spot. Probably could have even waited for the next one because I don't think Legion's taking him, but we'll still pop him there. So double stacking Mahomes. With Kelsey, though, I'm probably going 3 tight end. To be honest, I don't think he's good enough to be done at 2. Legion taps both backs that I wanted. Good picks. I was hoping one would come back to me. Definitely regret my decision now. But for that, I will take a second tight end. Tyler Warren, insurance. Yeah, this isn't feeling to be my favorite draft for sure. I will say that. Let's see, 6 spot gained some nice RB falls. Let's take a look at the board. So it goes Gibbs, then it gets hauled back in the 4th round. That rarely happens. Hendo, yeah, especially now. And Tracy, that's a little higher than Tracy ADP, but Mason. So no, I mean that ends up being a nice RB room. 1-5-3-1, definitely a more unique start. Bowers elite tight end, and only 3 receivers. Higgins is great. Then Waddle, Judy. We'll see how they round out the receiver room. So back to the board. Let me catch up with chat. Sorry, I've been. The Peyton Sproles talk leaves room for Dobbins all day. No, I think both Denver backs can be pretty good, but Harvey I think will be interesting. Split backfields is the new norm. You have to be really talented to be. Yeah, I 100% agree. Very few teams I think are going to be one-back teams going forward. When we're seeing Braylon Allen cut into Breece Hall, look, Jahmyr Gibbs is not a one-back guy. Now you need the right offense to still be a top 10 back in that situation, but there are some guys out there who are in that. Like taking Williams with May, if hurting that bad part. Yeah. Agreed, Steve. It's definitely worth knowing Warren did not pay off the same ADP last year. Agreed. And it wasn't just that he missed 2 games. Like, he just doesn't score touchdowns. That's such a big key for fantasy. Last year, him and Najee essentially split the passing game work. Now, Warren was a little better per game, but it wasn't ideal. Let's see here. I think I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence. I need a second quarterback. Nothing else jumps out to me. Like there's some receivers here, but I have 5. I need running back help. I think I'm going to pull up Sampson again. I definitely like, Bateman would have been on my short list. Kirk, sounds like Kirk's going to have a decent role. Mims going to have a decent role, but I need running back help. Didn't you notice they had numbers back? Yeah, it was nice. Definitely got complaints, but they were quick to change. No, and it's true. Like Warren, we've been paying it as ADP at all, and we just haven't gotten the player. 3 years ago, sure, he was like a 16th rounder or something. But the last 2 years, his ADP has really moved up. Counting this year, the last 3 years. It just hasn't been really worth the price. Now, a couple of years ago, Najee wasn't worth the price, but when they got close, and even this year, it's, you're getting, getting Johnson in the late 60s, 70s, Warren, 90 to 100, just a couple round difference. And one is probably going to score 7 to 10 touchdowns. The other, maybe 3. So I know which side I want to be more on. As you saw last draft, I went some Warren, but I I feel like, for an instance, comparing him to what Austin Eckler is now, you get Eckler 70 picks later and probably has the same sort of upside. Look at what Rico filling in for, Chuba probably has the same upside, 70 picks later. 7 spot already has 3 quarterbacks. I did not notice that. Oh, they're the one that took May, then Baker and Goff. Yeah, they did take Stevenson. I mean, it's not like they must have just messed up with the May pick. Yeah, I wonder what happened there. All right. Braylon Allen goes. Hoping he'd come back, but not entirely surprised that he didn't. But just to my point, last year, Eckler only played 12 games. He had 114 points. Warren played 15, and he had 105 points. So, Eckler, in a per game situation, dusted Warren, and there's a 60 spot ADP difference. And yes, Najee moved on. There are a few differences. I get it, but it just feels like an inefficient price to me. Same as Pearsall last year. I drafted him in Henry. Yeah. About to hit up the 250 draft. Well, good luck. I am not going to be hitting that up, especially today. Looks like it's going to be filling soon. All right. Okay. I didn't take him last time, but Mims at this price, I'm taking. I almost skipped over that because, I'm surprised. Surprised he fell in this. He got really good usage yesterday, so that was very promising for him. Legion taking Tillman. And Ford. I was considering Ford. You know what? I will take the slide on Rashard White. And, I said I was probably going 3 tight ends with Kelsey. I might stop at 2. But since I double tap Kelsey and Warren right there, I feel like I need 6 backs. Only going to take one more receiver. I don't think I can stop at 6, though. Not with 3 week 8 buys. So I'll figure it out in the next 2 picks. Yeah, I had Sampson. Part of me considered just taking both. Hunter Henry, I think is a very good click. Good seeing you, Fancy Dog. Appreciate you jumping in. Appreciate you hitting like and announcing that, letting everyone know where it's at. 100%. 8-hour stream at 800 subs. I'm going to get that started for you, Steve. Well, thank you, Eddie. No, we're definitely going to do more and more things as we hit our various sub goals. So yeah, we're probably not getting to 1,000 subs before the season. When we do, we'll still do a 24-hour live stream. Just probably will not be until next big board season at that point. It's hard to thrive when your quarterback is trash. Warren should be worth it this year. Quarterbacks matter. I mean, I agree they do, and I also think Warren lost some opportunity to like Justin Fields last year because Fields not wanting to throw the ball a ton to his backs. He stole some touchdowns. I think most of those would have gone to Harris, and even Russ. Russ had like 200 yards rushing, I believe, in 11 games. So that's some yardage that could have been to Warren. And Aaron Rodgers won't do any of that. But I still think Warren could be better with Aaron Rodgers for sure. To me, I still don't know the difference in price between like a him and Eckler, him and Jerome Ford, him and Rashard White, even with White's latest injury. Those guys just feel so much better. Him and Chuba, Braylon Allen. So it's just, there's too many backs taken, whether it's 15, 25, 50 picks, 60 picks after him that I like more. Like the guys taken above him have higher upside to me. The guys taken behind him are at least on par or, maybe potentially have higher upside as well. Putt Daddy asking, I know I missed it, but what's the word on Rashard White? Sounds like it's a groin injury. From what I saw, not expected serious, but probably missing a couple weeks. Could he be ready for the start of the season? That, I'm sure they'll try for it. But groin injuries can also reoccur at a pretty decent rate. So let's see what gets back to me. Mike Robbit right here. The money is on the clock right now. He takes Isaiah Likely. And now that Likely's fallen into the 70s, I'm going to start taking him again. And it does sound like they expect it not to be serious. So I think that's good news. So speaking of Rico Dowell, I will take him here. Give me a fifth back. Still might add a sixth. Not sure what this build ends up being. Mahomes, Lawrence. I don't love stopping to two with just those two. I don't have another clear stack. I mean, could always tack on Daniel Jones at the end, but who knows if he's even the starter. Same with not really going Rattler. Flacco. I think I'm just going to throw on Aaron Rodgers. I want some more safety and security here. My receivers are good enough. I'll just tack on one late. If I need to add another back or tight end, I can make that decision then. So, Eddie's saying my Tanner McKee bags are looking great. Just kidding. Yeah, I'll say this. Tanner McKee looked really good against some of the Bengals starting defense also. So, last year he actually outplayed Kenny Pickett after Hurts got injured late in the year. I don't know. He could be a solid number 2 quarterback. He was definitely a 4, maybe 5-star recruit. Philly might have found a good backup. Well, Shipley going, he's starting to rise back up. He had been falling. Man, a week ago, you're getting Shipley in the 200s. Now that's not happening anymore. So it can be very interesting how things change. This is one, Adonai Mitchell, I don't know what to do with. I'll be honest. Like, from a talent perspective, I understand it. 2nd-round pick, I understand it. He's apparently had a good camp. He looked fine, pretty good in the preseason game, decently good. But the other issue is he's probably clearly the 4th guy. And the 4th guy on a team with, shall we say, questionable quarterback play. And not only that, like a tight end in Tyler Warren who could be heavily utilized. So I have like 2% Adonai Mitchell. Maybe I'll get up to 3 or 4%. I don't want to go crazy. I hope it's more of an 18th round pick. I don't see myself really taking him in the 16th round just because I do think, in the 18th round, I don't think there's a ton of opportunity cost. Some, obviously. There's probably some true guys we should be targeting in the 18th round. But in the 16th round, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity costs. Like him going ahead of Pierce seems wild to me. Thielen, Slayton, I'm just yeah, I'm taking those guys over Donnie Mitchell. And it's not that I don't think he's I think he's not the upside to be a good receiver. It's just everyone on the team has draft capital or money tied to them, and they've all performed at an NFL level. So I need to make sure I actually make a click, not get forced into something. So the money takes Taj Brooks there. I am going to take DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not going to worry about stacking Rodgers. I need week 8. I need bodies that I can count on. I feel Hopkins gives me one of the better floors. You know, same reason not taking like the Torrey Hortons there. But I think I'm going to go. Do I have enough at running back? That's the question. Kamara, Aaron Jones, Dylan Sampson, Rashard White, Rico Dowdle. I'm going to go Monangai. I might not have enough at tight end with Kelsey and Warren, but tight end is the lowest scoring position. If Monangai ends up the number 2 back, that could be just a massive win. So let me highlight my team real quick, then I'll highlight Paul and Mike's team, and then I will get on out of here. After that, of course, answering anything in chat. But, you know, Mahomes, Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers, I mean, I consider Freiermuth if I had taken a third tight end. But at the end of the day, I think Monangai just gives me a little bit more upside, particularly with White kind of being banged up to start, not fully knowing the Aaron Jones split, the Sampson split. Just giving me another out at running back, I think makes more sense there. Overall, it's a decent running back room, but I wouldn't call it a great running back room. Kamara, Aaron Jones, Dylan Sampson, Rashard White, Rico Dowdle, Cal Monangai. You can talk yourself in all of them, but there's also kind of a question mark with all of them. Receivers start off exceedingly strong, but there is one issue: 3 week 8 buys. Monroe, Brian Thomas, Marvin Harrison. Loving the fall there on Harrison. Xavier Worthy, Deebo Samuel. So clearly should have 5 starting receivers. Marvin Mims, from what we saw last night, might be a starting wide receiver. Tremendous value pick there, in my opinion. I have been starting to bump him down, but I'm going to probably bump him back to this like top 130 range. And, you know, maybe even in the top 120. DeAndre Hopkins, I think, is a great 17th round click. Then Kelsey Warren. Kelsey getting some value on. Don't love only going 2 tight ends with a guy like Kelsey, but it's correlated. I think it can pay off. We will look first at Paul's team. 2673. Jaden Penix, Connor, Brian Robinson Jr., Jan Warren, Cam Skattebo, Travis Etienne. At that point, I was expecting one of those to come back to me. He grabbed them both. Good picks there. I do want to start getting more ETN after what we saw last night. Where I end up on them, I'm probably just going to try and be around the field at both ETN and Bigsby. Jerome Ford, another nice pick there. So, you know, even though like Connor is the only like true workhorse running back, every other one of these guys should be heavily utilized, kind of like my RB room in a way. Puka, London, Mike Evans. So he got 3 wide receivers early and wisely did not have them all at the same buy. Double tap the Ravens receivers, Cedric Tillman, Torrey Horton. So that's a good, strong wide receiver room. Then Ertz, Jonnu, Jatavian Sanders. So I think that turns out to be a pretty good tight end room as well. So yeah, pretty strong team by Paul. And then we'll go to Mike's team. 2673, Lamar, Caleb Williams. Boy, we stole all of Lamar's receivers. Paul and I did. Guessing I thought he got Likely. Not sure if he did anything else. Ashton Genty, Chuba, Tony Pollard. So a little stronger running back start, and then tacking on the following Javonte Williams, which, pick 160. That's when I'm going to start to get interested. Todd Brooks, DJ Giddens, so taking some rookie upside there late. Nico, DJ Moore, Steph Diggs, Josh Downs, Trey Harris, Kyle Williams, Dante Thornton. So a nice mix of the vets to start and then 3 rookie upside plays at the end. Double tap the Ravens. I thought he might have double tapped the Ravens tight ends and took Ferguson to cover that buy in between. But I don't mind that. I mean, Andrews and Likely were the Ravens' top 2 red zone targets last year. So with Lamar and just in general, I think those are fine picks, especially now seeing the greater gap. Like Andrews has only moved up slightly since Likely got banged up, but Likely's fallen. He's going like 140-ish a couple weeks ago. So his ADP's fallen considerably, 2 rounds, and then might get him another round after that. So yeah, like the value there. I definitely see why you couldn't pass that up. So let me hit up chat, and then we'll get on out of here. Totally auto pick 15-16 watching you for games in the draft. Oh, sorry about that, Mike. I mean, I think it turned out pretty well. Who were your 15-16? Likely. I mean, Likely at that value, I think is fine. And Thornton, yeah, I think that's a fine pick there also. So looks like it panned out. Last time Deion Jones had multiple weapons, he made a playoff push. Last Steve had Wandale too. Indy Mitchell's way too cheap. Yeah. I mean, we'll see it if Mitchell can earn the spot. I like him. It's just I just don't know how he can get on the field above Pierce, above Downs, above Pittman. And I will say I like it more if it is Daniel Jones. While he'll scramble and run a little bit, I don't think he runs as much as they are, and he's more accurate than they are. Snipe nothing. I got Flowers in 6, Bateman. And yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, it's clear Mike wasn't targeting those guys. So yeah, no, good drafts, everyone. Appreciate you joining me in chat. Appreciate you joining me in the drafts, and hope everyone has a great rest of the day. And maybe I'll be back tomorrow. I'm not sure yet my schedule. I know on Tuesday I'll be on Huhaim's channel during the afternoon. I believe it's 3 p.m. Eastern. Wrapping up all the preseason stuff. Then Meg and I have Sean Mitchell back, I believe 6 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday night here on the Fanspeak Network. And we will talk training camp preseason just like we did last week. But yeah, we'll see if I'm on tomorrow as well. And again, thank you again for showing up, liking the episode, all the support, and hope everyone has a great rest of the day. I like to push Flowers and drafts with Steve to tempt him into it. I see what you did there, Mike. Peace. Yes, peace. Thank you guys. And I will catch you guys next time.